Good evening and welcome to this week's Black Mental Health is Black Health. I'm Miss B, the Black Couch Therapist, and tonight we have another amazing topic. Of course, an amazing guest because I only have amazing guests. But we always start with a few deep breaths. It's the end of the day. Don't know how your day's been good, bad, busy, mellow, but it always helps to just have some deep cleansing breaths just to get started. So that's what we're going to do. We'll breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. 3 cleansing breaths. Let's get started. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. One more. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Cameron, how was that breathing for you?
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you for doing that.
Awesome, awesome. That's something we need to always remember. Just stop and take some deep breaths, and you can feel so refreshed and just new. Well,
Yes, yes.
introduce yourself and tell us something cool about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me. My name is Cameron Weaver. I am the CEO and founder of Chocolate Soil Plant Boutique. And something cool about myself is that I really, really enjoy fishing. It is so therapeutic and it's just relaxing, just being out in nature. So that is something that I really enjoy doing. I usually do it with my mom. And so we'll just go out there, take some food out there, relax. And sometimes we catch and sometimes we don't. She says I'm a bad fisher. But yeah, so
So you are an outside kind of girl, fishing, gardening. You're a nature kind of person, I take it.
yes, it's just something about being out in nature. It just helps you appreciate, your surroundings and really just be grateful of
Mhm.
your where you are. So I really just enjoy being out in the garden. It's so healing, it's just so powerful, and there's something new in the garden every single day. And so it's
Mm.
just a joy to be out there.
So tell me, what inspired you to become a gardener?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to my roots. And doing a little bit of research and just kind of talking to my parents, I learned that my great grandfather was a sharecropper. I had a chance to look at the census and really just look at
Wow.
some of the things that he did. So he was a sharecropper, and my dad told me that he had a garden and he would grow so many different things that they would eat from the garden. And then in talking to my mom, she mentioned that her grandmother had a garden as well, growing greens and just going out there and relaxing. And so my mom started gardening, and I just saw how therapeutic it was for her and how she enjoyed it. And I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and just kind of like pick up that skill and see how I like it. And I have never looked back, and I don't have any regrets about gardening. I absolutely enjoy it. And as I mentioned, it's just so therapeutic. Sometimes I have to tell myself, if there's anything that you have to do, make sure that you do it before you go out into the garden, because as soon as your hands hit that soil, it's over.
It is so true about the therapeutic nature of putting your hands in the dirt. We've talked on the show before about earthing and the electrical energy from the earth and what it does to our electrical energy. But so when you're putting your hands in the soil, you talked about it when you said that you smiled. So what does it
Yes.
do for you just to put your hands in the soil?
It's just like it's like a calm comes over me, right? Because
Mm,
that soil is so connected to our ancestors, right? Like when we think
mm,
about Black people being the first, gardeners, being the first agriculturists, it's really something that is connected to us. And so it's like I feel, really interconnected with just my ancestors, but then I also
mm,
feel connected to God. It's like He's speaking to me, I'm giving life to something. And there's so many mentions about gardening and agriculture in the Bible,
mm,
so many parables that Jesus talked about. And so I think it's just that feeling of putting something back into the earth because it's going to give you back something, but just that like release. You're just releasing all of your energy into that dirt, that soil, that plant. So
Wow. I hadn't thought about it in that way. It makes so much sense.
yeah.
So you have yourself listed as the chocolate soil. What tell us about that? What is this chocolate soil? How did you come up with the name,
Absolutely.
and what is your business?
Yeah. So the name kind of derives from what I was talking about earlier about,
Mhm.
Black people being the first agriculturists, the first, farmers and the people to cultivate the land. And so when I think about the soil, I think about, our sweat, our blood, our tears is really ingrained into that soil. And so that's what makes it chocolate soil. And so the name just kind of came from it being something that I feel like is our history, right? We're just deeply rooted and connected into growing and farming and doing all those things because back then that was a way for us to survive, right? We had to kind of grow our own foods. And so you can
Mhm.
look back in history and see where Black people started their own little mini gardens. And then they made do with that and whatever else they had, they would, put it together with what they had in their gardens.
Mhm.
But chocolate soil is really just derived from that interconnectedness with the Black culture and farming. So what we do here, though, is we inspire others to start their own gardens, to be self-sufficient. Whether it's a small garden, a big garden, whether it's something you're going to do in a container, it's really just up to you on how you want to do it. But we inspire families and individuals to really get back to the soil, no matter who you are.
Mhm.
Because again, as we talked, it's very therapeutic. And so I hear from so many people who just say, every time I get out in that garden, I feel so alive and I feel good. And again, when you go out into the garden, there's so many new things that happen. Like you might go out there one day and it's just a flower, and then you go back out there and now you've got like a whole fruit, or you might see a different bug, and you just kind of see the life just happen. Things
Mhm.
start from a plant. It goes, it flowers, you pick it, you harvest it, and then it turns right back into a flower and gives you seeds. So there's so much life that's happening out there. And that's what we
And
want to.
you said that you talked about how our ancestors would plant, out of necessity, and they start little gardens. But I think we're back to that place where, out of necessity, we need to start gardening,
Absolutely.
start
You're right
growing
on
our
it.
own, and even from for so many reasons. One, you can look at the price of food, but even from a health standpoint, and so many pesticides, and you don't know what you're getting. So if you grow it, you know what's on it. So I can see
Absolutely.
where that would be so beneficial. So you grow just for yourself. You do what other kind of things do you do to share your fruits and vegetables that you grow?
Yeah, so I started off just growing for myself, and I really just wanted to give back. And so right now I have a community garden in my backyard, and so it's the project is called Gardening for All Oak Cliff, and so we provide fresh fruits and vegetables to the seniors in our neighborhood, but anyone in our neighborhood who's in need of fresh vegetables and fruits. And so we are actually in what's called a food desert, where there is not much access to fresh foods
Mhm.
and grocery stores. So we are just like strategically put here to provide fresh fruits and vegetables. And so in that regard, we share with neighbors. There is a senior citizens home directly across the street from where I live. And so I will just take the harvests and bag it up and go over there and just kind of do some street justice and distribute it. So I've been doing this for over a year now, and I'm hoping that now with the grant that we just got to start this community garden, that we'll be able to feed more people in the community and just get people excited about growing their own foods, and hopefully someone else will want to do it, even whether it's on their porch or backyard or wherever.
So tell us about this grant you won to do gardening. Sounds
Yes.
exciting.
It is exciting, and God is just so good. I had prayed for abundance in being and the resources that I need to be able to continue doing the work that God has called me to do. And so, the city of Dallas has a grant called Love Your Block. And so I
Mm.
was awarded the grant to do this project. Again, it's called Gardening for All Oak Cliff. And so we're just so excited about being able to offer so much more than what we were before. So now we will be able to add about approximately 18 more beds to the ones that we already have. And we'll be able to have like potatoes and just really just grow all year round. So potatoes, and
Right.
then, in the fall, we'll probably be able to have like some butternut squash and sweet potatoes and pumpkins. And, as time goes on, we're just really looking to feed everyone, and hopefully, people will be excited about this, and again, start their own projects. I mean, there's so many opportunities within the city of Dallas to do projects like this. So
That is cool. So what vegetables are you growing right now?
that's a good question. So right now it's the summer, and we are in the almost going into like the dead of the heat. So right now we're growing cucumbers, we're growing bell peppers, tomatoes, we're growing squash, some summer squash, yellow and green. We are growing beets, we're growing okra, and so many different herbs. So basil, dill, um, cilantro, parsley, so many things watermelons, cantaloupes. We've got a lemon tree, and then we've also got a banana tree from Trinidad. One of my friends
Wow.
gifted me a tree from Trinidad, so we're hoping to get some bananas. And then again, with the grant, we'll be able to just really flourish and put a lot more into the soil. But all different varieties of tomatoes as well, cherry tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, you name it.
How big is your backyard?
My backyard is pretty big. I don't have the exact measurements, but right now we've got 6 beds that hold 20 in total, 24 containers. So
Oh, wow.
that's just that part. And then with the extension, we'll be able to add about another 18. And so again, we're getting really creative, right? So it doesn't really matter
Mhm.
how much space you get because you can grow vertically where you grow up. And that's really big now. So, I tell people that you can grow in so many different ways. Hydroponics, we also are growing in water as well. So some of our greens that, will bolt in the summer, we're growing them indoors in a hydroponic system.
Talk about that. What exactly is a hydroponic system, and how can you grow some greens in the summer in water? Tell us about
Yes.
that.
So it grows strictly in water. There's like little sponges where you stick the seeds in there, and then it has to have some light, so we have grow lights that are on top of it, and the nutrients just comes right from the water. So instead of having soil, you're growing it straight from just water. Now it has a pump on it to keep the water filtered and
Mhm.
such, and so that and you can add a little bit of plant food in there. But the system that I'm using right now is called Bloom. And but there are people who have hydroponic systems that they're just do on their own, so you can just grab like a regular tote, like a carrying case tote,
Mhm.
and put the top on it, put some holes in there. Some people even do it with their fish tanks, right? So it's like a whole ecosystem. So the fish are at the bottom, eating the algae and keeping the water clean, and then the plants are at the top, and there's like a filter. But the one that I have is just water. But there's so many ways to just get creative. And so I grow all my leafy vegetables inside, like spinach, kale, bok choy, greens, arugula, and some of my
Inside
herbs
your
as well.
house.
Yes, inside my house, inside the windowsill, actually.
Oh, okay. So how big is the container that they're in?
um, it's probably about like this big, and it has about 12 different little circles where you put the sponges. And so you'll drop those seeds down in there, and that light acts as the sun. And so it comes
Mhm.
on about 12 hours per day, and then it turns off, and then it turns back on. So that's acting like as the sun, and the water
Mhm.
is your nutrients. And so it grows much quicker, much faster. And the reason why a lot of people like it is because it minimizes, pests and bugs and things like that. You don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to worry about watering it because it's growing in water. So a lot of people enjoy doing hydroponics. So we're just kind of checking out all different kinds of ways to help people,
Right.
because everyone's situation is different, right? If your space allows it, you can grow, in hydroponics. But if it doesn't, then dirt might be your avenue.
Mm. That is so interesting. So did you say it's quicker, or if you're growing in water, does it take less time for it to grow, or is it about the same as if you were growing in dirt?
I would say it takes less time because the seeds germinate just a little bit faster because the nutrients of the water is in there, as opposed to if it's in dirt, it might take a little while to germinate just due to it trying to settle and get in and just,
Mhm.
nestle into those nutrients into the soil. So yes, it does take much faster. So sometimes what people will do, and what my mom does, she has a bloom as well, and they should be sponsoring me for talking about them, but but she
They
has her,
should.
yeah, she has a bloom, and what she does is she uses it as her starters. And so she'll put her
Mhm.
seeds in there and she'll start them in the blue and then bloom, and then she'll take them out into the garden and then plant them into the garden. So that's a good way to just get your things to germinate faster.
Hmm. Just out of curiosity, is there a difference in taste from when you're growing something in hydroponics versus in dirt? Just curious.
No, I haven't noticed anything as far as
Mhm.
the taste. Again, you're not going to be all bitten up by the bugs, so you'll
Mhm.
definitely, have that. But I would say, if it was up to me, I would let nature do its thing. I definitely prefer growing out in the, out in the elements. Again, one, you get to see all of the different pollinators, so you get to see your bees and your butterflies and things like that. You don't get to see that when you're in the house, right?
Mhm.
And your plants are getting natural sunlight. So one thing about the bloom is that it's not natural sunlight. It's coming from the lights, and you're kind of mimicking
Right.
a certain, you know system. But and that's why it grows faster, because when it's outside, you can't predict how much sun it's going to get. You can't predict how
Mhm.
much water, unless you're
Right.
watering it every day. But I always opt for the natural way. But if you want something that's just a little bit more creative and you want to try some different things, then hydroponics is a good way to go. And then you get things that you may not be able to grow in the summer as well.
So you can grow off season using the hydroponic.
Absolutely. Yes,
That is
yes.
just interesting. I can remember when I was younger, years ago, when I lived in Houston, there was a grocery store that had a whole hydroponic section, and you could go
Hmm.
and hydroponic garden was actually in the store, and you could go and buy it. So it
Wow.
didn't last, but it was interesting. So what? Anything else you can tell us about what the grant's going to do, and how you can use it in your community, and how people can access it?
Yeah, so if you want to know more, you can follow us at chocolate soil plant boutique.com, which is on Instagram. And you can also follow us on Facebook at Chocolate Soil Plant Boutique as well, just to learn more information. We're currently looking for volunteers to come out and help us build the garden out. So if anyone is interested in being a volunteer, you can DM me on Instagram, and I'd be happy to get you the information on how to volunteer. But we're just and we're also looking for people to volunteer when it comes to harvesting, right? So as I mentioned, we're going to have a lot of fruits and vegetables, so we're going to need people to pick and harvesting. I've been doing this much on my own, but the Lord has given me help and resources, and so I'm hoping that people will be just as excited as I am and come out and help us harvest and distribute. I think seeing the look on people's faces when you give them fresh vegetables and you tell them that it came out of your garden, they have a different level of appreciation for it, right? Because they know that you took your time. They're very grateful
Mhm.
for it because they know that you took your time. There was some work that had to be done, right? I think when we go into the grocery store, we just pick up things, we throw them in a bag, and we go home, cook them. But when you're out there picking that fruit and loving on it, and
Yeah.
giving it all the nutrients, there's a different level of gratefulness that you have for it,
Mhm.
because you know that someone really had to. Even when you don't want to water, you've got to go out there and water. When you don't want to prune, you've got to go out there and prune. So but people can help in ways like that, is just volunteering their time.
Now I know your grant says it's, dealing in the Oak Cliff area. If there are people in other areas of the Metroplex and they say, "Hey, I want to volunteer because it sounds cool. I just want to know more about it." Is it open to that or what?
Absolutely. Yes, anyone in the DFW area is open to come and volunteer. We have open arms, and we would be so happy if you came just to see what God is doing in the community. So it is not, and even our distribution is not centered only in Oak Cliff. It's Oak Cliff because there is a food desert here, but there's so many other food deserts here, right? We've got food deserts in South Dallas as well,
Mhm.
and so anybody is welcome. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to travel, right,
Oh,
to
okay.
other areas and do some distribution as well as we just kind of grow and flourish.
And maybe even inspire people in other areas to create their own
Absolutely.
community
Yes.
garden. So
Yeah.
when people, if someone wants to find out more about you, they can go to Chocolate Soil Plant Boutique on the various socials and find you. And that information will be in the chat in the comments, so you guys can find out how to get with her. So a lot of people like myself want to garden, but we're not good at it. So when I lived in Houston, I was able to grow things, but really it was my son who had the green thumb. I say I have a
Mhm.
purple thumb. Yeah, just
No
not
such thing.
good at good at it at all. But we grew tomatoes, corn, purple whole peas,
Mhm.
carrots, and something else. And they grew when they flourished. And I've been in the Metroplex now for 9 years, and but for 4 of those years, I have tried so hard and failed grandly. Okay. So what tips could you give to people in starting their own garden?
Absolutely. So the one thing I would say is be patient, right? There's so much that goes into garden, and I think that patience is the key. And so a lot of people give up. You know, they see something that dies and they're ready to give up. But nature, it will come back sometimes. So I would say patience, definitely patience, and you can always reach out to me. We do have classes, we have workshops. We also will come out and start your garden for you. So if you are in need of wanting to start your own garden, or you just kind of want to know, where do I start? What can I grow? We offer those services as well. So if you are looking to start your own garden, definitely reach out to us. If you have house plants, we help with that plant maintenance. Because a lot of gardening kind of starts in the with the house plants. People are taking
Well, I
care of a
feel those
plant and
too.
things like that. But it also, you're just be mindful and watch out what your plant is doing, right? So your plant will tell you whether it's a house plant, whether it's a vegetable plant, it will tell you whether it needs water, right? Sometimes you'll go out there and it's drooping over or something like that.
Mhm.
Most likely it needs water, right? If you have a garden and your leaves are brown or yellow, might be too much sun, right? So it's very important that you're always going outside, checking on your garden, taking a look at what's going on. I think gardening is something where you have to be committed to it, right? So go out there, check on your garden, see what's going on in the garden, see all the different things that are happening out there. Just get acclimated to being out there. So just be patient, take a look at what's going on, see what your plant is doing, and then water. You have to water. Make sure that you're watering. Don't overwater, but water your plants. And nutrients is very important. So we use a lot of like worm castings. We do have our own special curated soil. It's chocolate soil, and
Mm.
so it's packed with so many different nutrients that will help your plant flourish and grow. And so that's very important. There's a lot of different like levels and pH levels and things that your plant needs to survive. And so you want to make sure you do that. And then once you start seeing some fruits come, you want to fertilize as well. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your plant fertilized and that it's getting all, just like us, we need water, we need food, we need nutrients. Your plant is no different. It needs the same thing. And it also needs sun. So depending on the type of plant, it may need, partial sunlight, full sunlight. So when you're buying your plants, make sure you read that little card, because that
Mhm.
is information about what your plant needs. And I think that those things will really help. Those are just kind of like some of the basics. But if you really want to learn more, reach out to us. And we're so happy to help you get your garden started.
Do you have a class coming up soon? You mentioned you have classes. Is there anything coming up in the near future?
We don't have anything coming up right now, but the
Mhm.
garden build that we're going to have for the volunteers will probably be sometime around June 13th. And so we will know more about our next class around that time.
And will that be on your socials if people want to get information about that June 13th class? How can they get
Absolutely.
details?
Yes, so they can log on to our Instagram page. There's always information there about, our events that we're having and information about our upcoming classes and even information again about if you want to volunteer. We also have a website. If you want to check us out on our website, it's www.chocolatesoil.com.
Okay. So many ways to contact you.
Yes.
Any other ways people can support your services and support what you do?
Absolutely. Just, keep us in prayer, right? We are doing God's work and we're just asking people to keep us in prayer so that we can continue doing the work that we do. If you have any resources or anything that you want to give us, please reach out. I think I mentioned earlier that we're doing a water and rain collection system. And so, we always just need utensils, we need supplies, right? Because this is all community led. And, the more resources that we have, the more funding that we have, the better, right? We're just trying to feed the community with what we have. So.
My last question, you talked about your water collection system. Tell us about that. And I know I've heard that rainwater is better than, when you're watering. So what is your rainwater collection system? Tell us about that.
Yes, so that's another thing that we're going to be able to expand and do with the grant. We're going to be able to put in a system where we're collecting rainwater, right? And so
Hmm.
what it does is it collects all of the runoff and things from the rain. And we get a lot of heavy rain here in Dallas, and so we're able to collect that water, filter it out, and store it in 50-gallon drums and use it to water the garden. So we're really just kind of conserving and saving there.
Hmm.
So it will, keep or cut down water costs. And then we'll be able to implement some drip irrigation systems that will be able to automatically water the garden so that you
Wow.
don't have to go out there in the heat or in the sun and water. We'll be able to use that water from the rain collection system and filter it into the garden. So we're just thinking about ways that we can be creative and be self-sufficient, right? And cut down costs because everything right now is so expensive. And so with that
Hmm.
rainwater collection system, we'll be able to collect free water that God is giving us and turn it
Wow.
into water for the garden.
That is amazing. Wow, we're about to wind down. And before I give my call to action, is there any one other thing you would like our audience to know? You've said a lot. I haven't given up on gardening. I'm this close to it, but I'm going to reach out to you because I'm so close to saying, okay, it's not meant for me. Ah, but I'm not giving up yet. I'm
No, don't do it.
inspired. What final thing would you like to say?
I would say that keep gardening in your mind and in your spirit as something that will teach you about gratefulness, that will teach you about just, the cycle of life. And to your point, don't give up. Don't give up on gardening. It is something that, can feed you, nourish you, not only nutritionally but spiritually as well. Like I said, there's just so many great things that are in the garden that teach us about life, that teach us about, the Lord and how he's been so good to us. And so I want people to take that in when they're thinking about gardening. A lot of people say that they have a brown thumb, but there's no such thing. Everyone has the ability and the tools to do gardening. It just takes that little bit of patience that will take you further.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. And I was in the show with a call to action, and it's something we can do based on the show. And so tonight's call to action is to try, get out there, even if you take one planter, one container, and grow one thing. There is a lot of satisfaction when you eat something you grew yourself, you nourished it, that's your baby, you made it happen. So I encourage you to try it, even if you're as bad as I am. Try it and hang in there. I've had some success, so I know it can feel good. And I always end with vote, vote, vote. Be an educated voter. Don't just say, I like this, I like that. Know what you're voting for. Well, Cameron, thank you again for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us tonight. We enjoyed it. Well, guys, I'm Miss B, the Black Couch Therapist, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye now.